I think I just paused. I think I just paused and restarted my camera. So give me just a second with that. I'd like to read you something. I didn't quote that right. Hey YouTube, back again. Thank you so much for being here. If you're joining me for the first time, welcome. And if you are coming back, thank you for coming back. Today I wanted to make a video to talk about the artists, writers, performers, and musicians that have inspired me the most. Terribly dangerous for an artist to fulfill other people's expectations. I think they generally produce their worst work when they do that. David Bowie. David Bowie and artists like him inspired me my entire life. I wouldn't be anywhere near the arts if it hadn't been for pioneers like Bowie. What he was saying there, I think, is probably one of the most important things that an artist can remember. And it's something that I've struggled to remember in most every aspect of my artistic career. And I say career very loosely. But I played to the gallery most of my life because that's what people told me I was supposed to do. Like a lot of people, I learned the hard way that that does not produce the kind of work that you ever feel good about, and it's not the kind of work that you want to share with people. I've even kept a lot of the work that I've been doing over the last couple of years completely private because I don't want it to be about external validation. Art should be an expression of who you really are as you're trying to understand more about that person. Art should always come from a place of genuineness, and when it's put on that you have to be a certain type of artist in order to be taken seriously. Sure, the world today might build you up and make you think that that's what makes you a good artist, but I disagree. These lines that Bowie said in an interview, I think it was in the mid 90s that he said this, somewhere around the time that he released I'm Afraid of Americans. Poignant. That's when it really hit me that I was going about things the wrong way. So today, I just wanted to share a little bit about the artists that have inspired me. And I even took a couple of notes, which I don't normally do, so progress. The artists that have inspired my writing mainly are Stephen King. I've been reading his books ever since I was little. My very first book that I finished cover to cover was Firestarter, uh, probably and primarily because of the movie Firestarter with Drew Barrymore from the 1980s. Love that movie. Really, believed that if I just wished hard enough, I could learn how to start fires with my mind. That didn't happen. Stephen King's world building, his way of devoting time and attention to detail, was what really drew me into his work. And I, of course, love dark, macabre themes. I always have. But his blending of the natural and supernatural worlds together was also really inspiring for me. Anne Rice, her vampires and witches and her take on these kind of classic tropes, believe it or not, are the reason that we have things like the Vampire Diaries and True Blood and so many others that have come after that because she did something with those types of characters, those myths that nobody had ever done before. Humanized them in a way that made them relatable and made us want to be a part of that journey. And I think that's what draws us back to those kinds of tropes over and over and over again. What she does with her writing is really emotional. And it takes really uncomfortable topics, things that we don't like talking about, and makes them relatable in a way that I think is really cool. The next author that I wanted to talk about is Tom Robbins, who a lot of you are probably completely unfamiliar with, and those of you that are familiar, maybe through a social justice lens, do not see him in the best light. And I can completely understand that. There's a lot about the way that he wrote his books that is not really standing the test of time. Tom Robbins had a way of speaking about things that took really complex ideas like the existential crisis of a woodpecker living inside a pack of Camel cigarettes and made it into something that you could not only understand, but that you were invited into and that you felt like you could possibly be a part of. Weird, warped, psychedelic, acid trippy kind of concepts. His style of writing and his ability to take the extraordinary and give it some kind of ordinariness that made it relatable was what really inspired my work. I wanted to tell those kinds of stories. I am a big believer in magic. I think that magic is maybe one of the coolest things that we play around with in our mind. And whether you believe in real magic, ceremonial magic, occult magic, or you just believe in the concept of magic being something that is born out of our human connection to our imagination and our creativity, I think it's all wonderful and beautiful. Whatever outlet you have for it, whether it's a true form of spirituality for you, or whether it's just a way for you to embrace it creatively and take your imagination outside of the box of what you think, the boundaries or limitations of imagination should be. I think that that's special and I think that that is magical. And that brings me to some of the films and things that I watched growing up. I'm a child of the 80s. I'm a Gen Xer in my soul, even though I was born in 1982. But I would like to point out that they didn't change that stipulation from 1985 to 1980 until I was well after I'd already identified as Gen X. So I still feel like I count. Um, but it doesn't matter. It's a stupid thing to worry about. I loved movies like The Neverending Story. I loved movies like Labyrinth and The Dark Crystal and Legend because they really took things that I'd grown up, reading about Hans Christian Andersen and Grimm fairy tales and things like that, and loving those types of stories, loving fairy tales. They took those things and made them into something entirely new, entirely unique. And I wanted to do that more than anything. So I decided that when I was going to sit down, I think I just paused. I think I just paused and restarted my camera. So give me just a second with that. I did. I totally hit the space bar. um, but that's fine. We live, we learn. We're figuring it out.